What's going on, family? This is Scrapbook Boxing, Museum of the Forgotten Fisticuffs series. I want to get into a pulverizing left hook artist who was born January 12, 1944, Beaufort, South Carolina. Now, this exciting fighter died, unfortunately, November 7, 2011 in Philadelphia, Pennsylvania. Cancer of the liver. He was 67 years of age at the time of his death. His name was Joseph William Frazier, better known as Smoking Joe Frazier. Now, I want to get into his career. I want to go through his fantastic fight in Manila with the great Muhammad Ali. But I want to do it right here with you on the Museum of the Forgotten Fisticuffs series. Now, standing 5'11.5" and weighing 197 to 229 pounds, Smoking Joe Frazier was managed by Cloverlay Incorporated. Now, what this entailed was over 50 investors who had pooled together to invest in Joe Frazier's career. Now, Larry Merchant, HBO analyst, will be a part of the investment. He was a newspaper editor at that time for the Philadelphia papers. And he got in on the act. Because in 1964, Joe Frazier would win the gold medal. And he would come back with a broken thumb, and he couldn't work at the slaughterhouse. And he had kids to feed. So they would pool money together and pay him a salary on a weekly basis. He would be trained by Yancey Durham and Hall of Fame trainer Eddie Futch. Joe Frazier was a perpetual motion left hook artist who would attack you body and head, full pressure, head and body movement, bob and weave, consistency. He was a dangerous fighter. Now, he'd be inducted into the Boxing Hall of Fame in 1990. The Ring Boxing Hall of Fame in 1980. The International Boxing Hall of Fame in 1990. In 1966, September 21st, he would face Ringo Oscar Bonavena. That would be his 12th professional fight. And in the very first round, Joe Frazier would go down 2 times. And if he went down one more time, that would ruin his career. But he proved the heart of a lion when he would get up. And he would complete the 10-round fight and protect his unblemished record of 12-0, making it 13-0. This fight took place in Madison Square Garden. It was a fantastic fight and a grand opening for Smoking Joe Frazier. On November 21st, 1966, he would face Eddie Merchant. In Los Angeles, California, he would defeat him in 10 rounds. Eddie Merchant was a fantastic fighter himself. February 21st, 1967, he would face Doug Jones, Philadelphia, Pennsylvania. He would knock him out in 6 rounds. And this was impressive because Doug Jones would go the distance with Muhammad Ali. And he would not be knocked out. Fantastic achievement by Smoking Joe Frazier. July 19th, he would face George Chuvalo. George Chuvalo was a Canadian heavyweight who was terrorizing all the heavyweights in Canada. And he would face him in Madison Square Garden. And he would score a technical knockout in 4 rounds. 1968, March 4th, Buster Mathis, Madison Square Garden. He would KO him in 11 rounds. December 10th, Ringo Oscar Bonavena. He would face him in Philadelphia, Pennsylvania. He would defeat him in 15 rounds. February 12th, 1970, he would face Jimmy Ellis. And Jimmy Ellis would send a message to Muhammad Ali that Joe Frazier's left hook was nothing to play with. This fight took place in Madison Square Garden, and he would knock out Jimmy Ellis with an outstanding left hook, one of the greatest left hooks I've seen. And he would knock him out in the 5th round. Fantastic fight with Joe Frazier and Jimmy Ellis. March 8th, 1971, Smoking Joe Frazier would meet Muhammad Ali in Madison Square Garden. And that would be one of the greatest heavyweight fights of all times. It was a grueling heavyweight bout. Muhammad Ali been off for 3 years, and he would have a comeback fight with Jerry Quarry and Ringo Oscar Bonavena. And he was not ready for Smoking Joe Frazier. Joe Frazier would put full pressure on Muhammad Ali to the point where his heart rate would go up twice the amount just in the middle of the fight. Joe Frazier never took a backward step. Arthur McCampy has to separate the two men. Muhammad Ali walks wearily back to his corner. Joe Frazier seems to say, "I'll see you next round." Now, Joe Frazier would eventually be knocked out in 2 rounds in facing George Foreman. But Muhammad Ali and Joe Frazier would have to get back in that ring again. So in 1974, January 28th, Muhammad Ali would face Joe Frazier in Madison Square Garden, and Joe Frazier would lose in 12 rounds. Muhammad Ali would eventually defeat Big George Foreman in 1974 in Zaire, Africa, and become the first heavyweight after Floyd Patterson to regain his heavyweight championship of the world. October 1st, 1975, Smoking Joe Frazier would get back in the ring with Muhammad Ali in Quinzur City, Philippines. Small town outside of Manila. But in order to gain the traction, they would have to say that fight would be held in Manila. It would be called the Thriller in Manila. But the fight would actually be held in Quezon City, Philippines. And I'll tell you, that was one of the most brutal fights that any heavyweight champion had ever had to go through. Probably outside of Riddick Bowe and Vander Holyfield. Larry Holmes and Kid Norton. Unbelievable fight. You see, Smoking Joe Frazier was blind in one eye. He always had a problem with his right arm. But because of his heart, because of his courage, he would always continue. And on that night, 1975, had to be one of the brutal fights in heavyweight history. Outstanding courage and determination from both Muhammad Ali and Smoking Joe Frazier. Now, Smoking Joe Frazier. Smoking Joe Frazier would eventually retire from the ring. And he would do interviews with collaboration of his old nemesis, Muhammad Ali. But the daughter of Joe Frazier, Jacqueline Frazier, lied, who fought Muhammad Ali's daughter, Layla Ali. On June 8th, 2001, she would lose 8 rounds, but it would be an outstanding fight. Both fighters were undefeated coming in. Until Jacqueline Frazier Khalil's career was done, Layla Ali would be the only female boxer to defeat her. But she was the holder of the WIBA and the WIBF Super Middleweight Championship. And when retired, as lawyer of the family, she would handle her father's legal affairs. And the Frazier family would lay claim Pennsylvania owing monies on the Frazier's gym property and some land that was purchased in 1973, 140 acres in Bucks County, Pennsylvania, for $843,000. According to the Frazier family, 5 years later, a developer would agree to pay $1.8 million for the property. Frazier received annual payments for a trust that bought the land, but it was stated that he bought it with his own money. And after they went bankrupt, all the money ceased. So Smoking Joe Frazier ended up with nothing. But he was a very honorable man. One of my favorite heavyweights, champions of all times, Smoking Joe Frazier. Salute to Smoking Joe. Salute to the famous left hook. power punching right hand, perpetual motion, greatest fighters in heavyweight history. R.I.P. to Muhammad Ali and Smoking Joe Frazier. Thriller and Manila. Salute.